Yo, GM, welcome back to Crypto Saving Expert, the show where we discuss the latest cryptocurrency news. Today, I'm joined by two CSC Plus legends. We've got the Wizard of Alt and Blockpro. How are you doing, guys?
Doing well, sir. How about you?
Yes, that pump caught us by surprise, but a lot of people in the community weren't surprised. They were waiting for it. I know Wizard of Alt actually was on the stream with us yesterday, and he was saying, yeah, it looks like Sol's looking good here. I was actually wanting to take the short, to be honest with you. Went for the long, so it all paid off. Big thanks to Jason from stream yesterday and Wizard of Alt. But yeah, we're at all-time high, but sentiment's a bit deflated, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's an interesting one, especially like with the Bitcoin prices, where you clearly can see it's now touching a 4-hour resistance level. But the biggest issue is actually that the 7-day volatility chart is almost at an all-time low. Basically means that people are not really interested in it. It's not taking off on a mainstream way at the moment to actually push through those highs. So yeah, we need to be a bit more patient, I guess. So yeah.
Nice. And Wiz, well, both of you actually, I think, Blockpro, you've been trading, stocks and other assets for a long time now. But Wiz, you actually kind of I know you have stock experience as well, but you kind of made the transition probably towards the start of the year. And I know both of you have been super successful with gold. I can see we've got Justin in the chat here as well. He's now Mr. Golden Balls. What has been, why have you kind of stayed clear of altcoins and, I call it traditional trading, but you guys have gone from crypto trading to kind of focusing a little bit more on gold and some other markets right now. And we will touch upon that as well. If you can bring up some charts as well and kind of speak through, why you see more opportunity and kind of can read the plays a little bit better there as well.
Yeah, I think from my experience, it's sort of moving away from markets that weren't functioning properly. And I know that's something that Blockpro had spoken about previously at the start of the year, is when markets stop functioning properly, it's best to find new assets to trade. I traditionally came from a stock background, so I was sort of more comfortable, and I think certainly there were certain areas that I think would do well. And I think ultimately there is a crypto bull run, but it's on the New York Stock Exchange, and you're seeing that with the sort of the guardrails, etc. I mean, Circle, you'll have done 3-4x. MSTR's had its run. The miners have gone nuts. Like, you could have miners that have done 3, 4, 5x since April. And I think for me, it feels like whilst there's money coming on chain, a lot of it is coming in now through the institutional routes, and so it won't be bought as we previously see on exchanges. It'll be bought through when people buy Bitcoin through IBIT, for example. That liquidity is in the traditional system. It's whilst they're buying Bitcoin, that liquidity staying in there, and the profits will stay in there. You're not going to take money out of a Roth IRA or an ISA to go and buy your Solana meme coins or some of these altcoins. You'll keep it where it's safe, it's regulated, and there are some guardrails.
This comes back to the point that we've mentioned on stream quite a lot, that for years and years we've prayed for the ease of liquidity, this fluidity that we now have, and actually it's come back to bite us in the ass. Because like you say, people buy, there's no momentum, boom, sell. Whereas, like you say, traditional stocks, a lot of the time you go, I'll just keep it, I'll just let it rock, let's see how it goes. But Wiz, you do trade some bizarre tickers. Can we go through some of the tickers that you've been trading, some of the most bizarre for the audience there?
Yeah, so I had a really nice trade on orange juice, and that came. I'd been waiting for a while on that one, but that was a Blockpro special. That was setting up and waiting patiently for it to come back for that liquidity retest. And orange juice has probably performed worse than any other asset. The chart on the high time frame looks a bit like a meme coin, but it's volatile and it pumped up quite nicely. So evidently people are quite thirsty for that.
I wondered why my orange juice went up in price. It's you lot all pumping orange juice. I can't buy OJ for my kids now. Thanks, guys. They'll have to drink water.
But yeah, I think that's the weirdest ticker. I think ultimately, in my opinion, a lot of crypto exists purely as a volatile asset to trade. And in all honesty, there's some stocks and there's some commodities that are even more volatile but move in a more proper price action way. And altcoins tend to follow Bitcoin anyway. So unless you're trading Bitcoin, everything else will just follow that. So yeah, that's where I've been at. And commodities, I think you'll have done quite well. If anyone was long on copper last week, they'll have had a very large candle come up.
And Blockpro, you know, what are some of the bizarre tickers, or, you know, where has your focus been since the start of the new year?
I mainly focus towards crude, so oil and gold. Those are at the moment the two main tickers. For me, one of the reasons is mainly because, like, you can see, especially with crypto market, like, it's everything what you do is manipulated. No matter what financial market you're touching, you're just, especially as retail, you're just running after the facts every day.
Yeah.
I think when it comes towards some Bitcoin setups and also Ethereum setups, there are some decent chances still every day out there. When it comes towards the altcoin market, that is where I basically have an issue. That theory is based around the others chart. So the others chart is basically crypto total market cap, excluding the top 10. And that is where you encounter the issue, because at the moment that is below 250 billion. That means that as soon as a trader is going to open a position with some large amounts of money, that will actually impact these type of charts. So for me, basically, if I look towards where I noticed basically towards December, January, like, liquidity is actually leaving the market.
Yeah.
Is where complete order books are empty. So from that point on, try to switch to more a weekly time frame approach. But even on the weekly time frames, liquidity is still not there, and that is basically where I was like, just not going to put more time into making something work that is not liquid enough, because in the end, you always need to have someone else to buy your order to make the sell go through. And for that, we sadly enough need more idiots than us three on the screen.
You know, people forget that, you know, everything's a pyramid scheme. I've probably been hanging around TMG for too long, but everything you need someone to sell to make a profit. You need someone buying your profit. And, you know, this is transferable across all businesses in life.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, no, I think that Bitcoin still, like, as soon as you load up the chart, you can still see a very clear story of where the chart will go. To me, it looks absolutely golden where it is now. We called the TA this week also in the CSE Discord to say, like, probably will hit those levels. Well, then if it also does hit those levels, then, you know, that was pretty easy to do.
Yeah.
The only worry that I still have is, when do you get that rotation actually towards your altcoins, and talk about a so-called altcoin season, for example. I think that there is actually a chance that an altcoin season in the future will just be 20 different tickers that are regulated. That might go up. So yeah, I think that with the decision to mainly look more towards traditional assets, is because there's a lot of smart money involved that actually make the chart move in a smarter way. With Bitcoin or with crypto, it is quite simple. If retail keeps losing and loses interest, that means there need to be some moment in time where the market makers will let the retailers win for a little bit.
For a little bit, yeah, you're right.
Just for a little bit.
Yeah.
And that is what you see now, is that sometimes you have a week where it just goes up, and then nuke again. So yeah, longest and worst bull run ever.
And we did speak actually, I believe it was last week. You have a date in mind around October, correct? Perhaps later on in the show we will go over that date and go over your kind of your workings out behind that as well, because it's interesting. I was hoping for a bullish winter, but as you may find out later in today's stream, may not be the case, guys. So we'll keep that alpha for later in the stream, guys. But first, I will just go through some of the comments here as well. We've got a sim here asking for some money. Come join the CSC Discord and we'll make you some money. We'll teach you how to trade. Give a man a fish and elite for a day. Give a man a fishing rod and, it'll probably go fishing. That's the saying, right? We've got Jalapeno here, LFG, let's go. We've got CSC Plus in the house. We've got Math here, good to see you. Save with Crypto, GM. Guys, make sure to go over to the Stonksy channel. Save with Crypto is going live every day at 1 p.m. BST for the next 2 weeks because Dave is away, and Save with Crypto is absolutely smashing it. Really good insight. And a beautiful voice to listen to as well. We've got Crypto Bash here as well saying LFG. Pratik is saying Bitcoin all-time high today. We'll go through that when we pull up the Bitcoin chart. I'm going to say no. We'll give a quick one. Wiz, Blockpro, yes or no? Bitcoin all-time high today. Just yes or no?
In what currency are we saying? In dollars, yes. in dollars, yes. In the currency that me and Blockpro are spending, probably not.
Yeah. And we got John here saying GM. We've got Golden Balls, aka Justin. Good to see you. And also Steve as well. Gareth's laughing at the orange juice. And I'll go through the rest of them in a bit, guys. But let me just pull up on screen. We'll have a quick look at crypto bubbles. We'll have a look at the altcoin market. Then we'll talk about Bitcoin, Solana, and we'll do a live trade as well, guys. So you can't quite see on the screen right now, but you can, if I pull it up here, we can see Pengu is up 32% today, guys. I've got to hold my hands up to this. When Pengu first announced they were doing a token, I thought, really, another NFT project is getting bored with the lack of volume that NFTs provide, and they're trying to extract through a token. But since then, I actually see them working and grinding hard. The CEO, founder, Luca Netz, good guy, and I think it's one to stay. Actually, I don't know your opinions on Pengu. Perhaps you've been trading it.
Yeah, I like it. I must confess, when I was sort of in my crypto hiatus, I now had some USDT in an account. I did have a little long position on Pengu, which I've closed, and it continues to keep going up. But yeah, I think it's interesting. I think I'm looking at it from a pure sort of market point of view. Is it a $1.2 billion project? Probably not. But I think it's like everything. I think it's volatile, but I think it'll be interesting to see if it can establish itself up with the types of the flow keys, etc., and those sort of memes that seem to stay in the top 50 forever. So it'll be interesting to see if it takes liquidity from those.
Nice, and we obviously had Bonk as well. Let me pull up Bonk. So Bonk is actually up like 32% this week with Bonk. Obviously, all the Let's Bonk hype. I was waiting for the short position. Blockpro, you actually you mentioned an area to keep an eye on in the Discord, which was actually really good. It did actually break down, but then the pump last night then brought it back up as well. Is Bonk one that you've got your eye on, Blockpro? Have you been trading Bonk?
No, it's not liquid enough for me to do anything with it. This is just the issue that I have, by the way. If you're trading with like 1,000 till 10,000, then it's absolutely fine. You can do whatever you want. But as soon as you actually want to set in some decent orders, you will run into the issue that trading on perps at the moment is just not liable. I'm just, as soon as I would fill in an order, I'm just a target in the order book. No, but maybe that I will start some sort of a small trading challenge again, like let's say 100 to 10,000 or something like that. Then
Just
then
a
it
small
would
one.
be, yeah, then something like this would actually be quite nice. Because let me check, what did we do? Yeah, it's basically back into the main liquidity zone. Oh,
Yeah.
funny. Did you? How did the short played out then? Ross?
So I jumped the gun block, bro. I actually called it a little bit early. I was in a nice $500 profit. Didn't take it. Went back up. Got stopped out because I got a little bit hesitant. Should have kept it open, but likelihood is even if I had taken it, probably would have hoped for a little bit lower, and then got caught out with the pump anyway. So for the best, it is a little bit volatile. We've even got DYOR, do your own rugs here. He says, I thought you were bearish for July. I am generally bearish for July and August. This pump is, to me, it's a little bit of hype that's been pumped into Bitcoin and is trickling down into the alts. I'm not buying any spot positions right now. I'm overviewing the market. I'm having a look, but you've got to think on your feet because every day there's opportunity and every day can change. So don't get married to your gut feeling always. As Wizard of Bolt and Blockpro will say, you've got to think on your feet and got to adapt to the markets. But overall, I think I personally think we don't push too much higher with Bitcoin. Perhaps drop back down into the range and then wait it out till September. But I know some of the lads here will have some different opinions.
Yeah, I'm slightly different to that. I think we continue to pump certainly on Bitcoin and Ethereum. I think some of these alts will move big numbers in big days, but they'll also go down big numbers in days as well. But I think certainly for Bitcoin and Ethereum, my general overarching theory is I think that there is quite a lot of strength, and there's quite a lot of strength in the wider markets. I think S&P will continue to keep looking up, as will sort of some of the other major indices. I think we're not at a breaking down point yet, in my personal view anyway.
What are some of the key factors going into this? Are people expecting the interest rates to be cut and for the global money printers to go brr?
I mean, the global money printers are going on now anyway, aren't they? The US government just raised the debt ceiling, and ultimately, I think where we're seeing the indices and Bitcoin etc. rally, I'm not sure how much of it is due to strength and how much of it is due to just a real breakdown in sort of the strength of currencies. I think we're seeing across the board the dollar is just breaking down quite hard. And I think that's probably playing a factor in why we're creeping up, but there's not the pandemonium per se.
And Blockpro, what's your take on for the rest of the summer? Perhaps we can pull up a Bitcoin chart here as well.
I think a new all-time high is close. Wouldn't be surprised, to be honest, because everything is lining up at the moment. Downside is mainly you will not get like the mega crazy gains that we have seen in the past, of course, because if it now makes like a 2 or 3% move, it's a couple $1,000s. But that's not where the investors and traders are basically, or at least the traders are waiting for can do something with those moves. But for the people that want to make like stupid money, it's not really the right time. So for me, basically from here, the path that I'm looking at, targets for me has still not changed. We need to gain that $111,377.10. After that, $114,426.70. After that, $120,258.90. And after that, $126,176.3, and after that we nuke. So I think that there is actually quite a bit of room still to go up. What is important, or at least how I always view these type of charts, is so in 2024. Oh yes, we go back in time.
Do you want to pull up your chart, Blockpro, and I'll put it on the screen?
Yeah, need to let me log out my broker. Un momento.
No worries. I'll just go over the comments quick as well. We got Justin saying, Wiz is bang on, sir. We're not far from a massive push, and I'm 99.99999% sure I know the trigger. Justin, please tell us, what is the trigger? We've got Make Midai saying 125k plus by the end of July. Would love to see it, man.
Is the trigger Blockpro pressing the green button?
Yeah. Transferring the wallet again. I think that the screen is up. Yes.
Perfect. We got it.
So what is important, and I think that this is something that a lot of people need to learn and understand, is, for example, when we hit in February 2024, we ended up in this range. And there is always, with every financial market, there's only an amount of maximum amount of time that you can stay in such a range, because you build up liquidity towards the downside and towards the upside. Now, if we then go and take a look at how that is formed here on the top side, is again, we once we've broken that all-time high towards that 100k zone, and everything was in the news again with 100k, we also have been consolidating in that same range for quite some time. Then we had a little bit of pullback where people already started, bear market. No, bear market is everything below $53,000. That is where you can declare a bear market, because that means on the higher time frames, you're creating a lower low. So now, again, you create a liquidity area actually above that remaining part of it we have seen in the first phase. And that makes it quite interesting, because the amount of people that still are holding up with the short positions over here, that is now just slowly starting to get wiped out. Now, if you look towards at the resistance point here on the top side of that 111, to me it looks very manufactured. That's this is price control on its finest, basically. So to start ranging in this same area where we are basically now, and of course maybe you get the pullback back towards like a little bit of a liquidity grab towards the downside before you bounce up again, but you have seen that is only just 1 or 2 days that you fall down and then move back up. So from this perspective, I think that the breakout that we have occurred basically in the last couple of days is still only the top side of the range. It's nothing new, and that's also why I think like there is more than enough room to actually break further out of this range, because it remains a liquidity story. It's the same with the amount of stop losses that are not even under this low, but are just in this entire area. Yeah, that's of course mental. So just grab it and take it up again. So I think personally that it can go a little bit further than where we are. Clearly can see the targets on my screen. So
if you scroll up as well, Blockpro's got 1 million marked out as well.
I'm not sure. I think it stops at 126. Yes.
Oh, damn.
At 126.
You're not bullish enough, sir. You're not bullish enough.
Oh, we got other charts for that. So I think that this basically looks quite decent. What I do see that is coming a little bit back at the moment, if I zoom in towards like a 15-minute time frame, is that there's actually more than enough opportunities to test it, to trade this on back towards the day trading part. But you do need to be very aware from the amount of liquidity to be taken. So that's something that I noticed also switching towards another asset. It's just you always need to, or at least I always need to think like, how can I cover my risk? And once your market just starts to move or tries to wipe out both sides of the story, then you need to be careful with it. But it does make sense looking at how it is all formed, or at least I think it makes sense. So also see it here, 125k by the end of July. Well, let's hope so.
Yeah, that's bloody well hope so. Blockpro, talking about trading other assets again. How are the skills kind of transferable? You know, a lot of the audience will kind of perhaps be, you know, okay, I'm used to trading crypto, but you know, is my chart experience, my chart skills, is it transferable to trading other assets, commodities, stocks, etc.?
Yes and no. Because a ticker, as long as there's a chart, you can trade it. So that's the same. Your stop loss, your risk management, your entries, all works the same. But what is important to understand is that every market moves different. So where we can clearly see with stocks that it's mainly based around news and events and data of the company itself. That is where we can see, for example, with gold, a clear correlation between an Asian session and a New York session. You can optimize that or make use of that. If you go towards the page of crude, of trading oil, well, just wait for that bomb to drop on some country and you will make some money. But if that doesn't happen, you will just be sitting there. So it does move a lot different, or at least I think that it moves a lot different, especially if you come from mainly crypto. Crypto is so small, especially compared with if you look at the Magnificent Seven. I believe that combined market cap is already bigger than the gold market cap. So not 100% sure if that is factual, but I think that Wizard can confirm this. That already means that as soon as a shift is around those companies, that will impact the market. If you look towards then the crypto side of that, where are we today? Like 2.5 trillion or something? Yeah. Ridiculously small. That's cute. That's just here, total of 3.42. Okay, it's a little bit better, but it's still nothing. And that means that with the especially with crypto trading, is that you need to be very aware that just liquidity is just an issue. So you always get bigger wicks. So where you think with Bitcoin, for example, now we have had like a liquidation wick, and you compare that to oil, then you get like not even a third of the same wick on the 1 minute chart, and that means that billions are liquidated. So I think that you can transfer a lot of those skills, but I also think that you need to spend quite some time on just staring at the chart to see how does it actually react, especially if you come from the crypto side. So you can certainly get those skills over to something else, but ease into it.
But be careful, guys. They say if you stare at a chart for over 2 hours, it's like staring into the sun. So be careful.
This is true. This is true.
Before we do today's live stream trade as well, I wanted to ask Wiz, you had some points to make about we're at an all-time high in dollars, but not necessarily in other currencies as well. Are you able to perhaps share your screen or Blockpro pull it up at the time as well? But yeah, let's talk about the Turkish lira, because it actually hit all-time high a few weeks back now.
Yeah, I can share my... Are you sharing your screen, Blockpro, or should I?
Well, you can throw it on. You probably have it in your watch list. So.
Yeah, I've got it right. So
my watch list is not that spectacular. It's gold, crude, and platinum. So.
I like a bit of platinum.
Screen am I doing? Right, is that coming through?
This should be the one.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. So zooming out. So if we look on the daily, we can see here we took out, I don't know if it's clear because I've got the blue bars, but we can see all-time high for Bitcoin here was $112,000 and everyone was partying. I find it really interesting. This shows just sort of the weakness in the dollar. If we look at it from sterling, for instance, so if we go here and down to where we are still on sterling about 9.2% away from an all-time high. As you can see there, 89,000 £89,000. currently at 81,000, and this gap's even slightly bigger. So if we look at this for the euro, we can go down and we can see the euro is nearly 11% away from all-time high.
Wow.
Which I think shows sort of that a lot of this rally is probably driven by that weaker dollar, and I think this is an important point. I think people in crypto can get caught up in, is because you're looking at everything in dollars. Even if dollars isn't your native currency, it's really difficult to get to lose sort of the perspective of where it is in relation to what currency you'd spend in your day to day. And I think it's probably an explanation for those who maybe are buying it in a Revolut or etc. and see it in pounds sterling or in euros and think, hang on a second, why aren't I up big time on this? And I think it'll be interesting. A little bit of a theory that I have with Bitcoin is, I think where we see people trading in the Forex market, it'll be interesting to see if parts of this sort of high frequency across currencies moves towards Bitcoin as that intermediary. And then, I mean, the worst performer is against the Turkish lira. I'm pretty sure this is just this is the chart. I think everybody. This is the chart that everybody wishes they could just long and never close, because I can't. I can't see this ever having any serious retracements. It is a pretty damning chart. I mean, on the monthly, it's even worse. I mean, that is a pretty horrendous monthly chart. Certainly if you're on the short side.
Too funny. Too funny.
Yeah, I think that's something I always say to bear in mind, is look at it from take away that sort of dollar perspective, and it helps put into perspective as to where we are, because I think ultimately when we say crypto, it's cryptocurrency, and I think looking at it from a currency perspective is also quite an important way to look at that.
And going back to the dollar as well, do you think we see further downside with the dollar, or do you think it will regain some strength against the euro, against the pound, etc.?
I mean, I don't trade Forex, but I think it'll continue at least going down. I think certainly if I was looking at an area to back test, I'd look at sort of this region. I'm above you there, so
I'm trying to put this screen. There we go.
There we are. I think if we look, we're sort of still in that sort of upper end of this bottom range, and I think certainly this area, it looks to be somewhere that we'd revisit. And I think also if you look at sort of where we're heading from a doomsday perspective on a sort of global macroeconomic, this isn't a good chart. This is US government yields. This is pretty bad, and I've got a nice chart marked out for the UK one, where, as you can see, we are rapidly approaching what I call the "we are completely fucked" zone, which is the gilt rate we had in 07-08. So I think from a currency perspective, from a fiat perspective, we may be reaching or beginning to reach a point where the system begins to strain. But I'm not a macroeconomist. I may be wrong, but I think it looks like we're heading that way.
And Blockpro, what's your take on the dirty devil's fiat currency right now?
For me, it's mainly if I look towards like the US dollar index. This is not something really new. I think that the first warning signs were already last year. So for me, if I look at how I've prepared my chart for this now, is that we're actually now hanging on that final bit of a support or range, and you can actually see that there is quite a lot of room for the downside. So how is this based? You can see that I have some arrows. I will not get too much in detail about that, but it is just measured over a longer period of time. And basically these types of charts is only something that you can basically get away with on the weekly. But I think there's no reason to go now for a quick recovery. The goal is still to get the dollar as weak as possible. That's actually the only way in how you can make it or transfer towards more a market structured, stable environment. I hope not will be XRP, but it does show that it is very much manufactured. If I then would look towards towards like the government bonds and stuff like that, it's just the same story. It will hit its issues. So if I would look towards like the more forex side of things, yeah, in the end, to me, still like you need to always calculate, especially if you're like full Bitcoin, always that inflation part of the Bitcoin price. So I've heard a lot of people say like, oh yeah, it's gonna go to 500,000. But if we would take that 500,000 example, and you would take a bit of inflation with it, and what your actual dollar is worth, does it then still say anything if you would say like, oh, it's actually an inflation issue? And that is like, if there's a reason why people do not get excited about 100K plus Bitcoin. It's something that people have dreamed of for years, and now we have it. And we look at
whatever
at the forex side, and we go, what the fuck is going on here? Why is it not absolutely pumping? But that's just because the traditional markets are just actually on the brink of collapsing. So and that is also, I think, it's quite important. So markets only perform well if there is if there is just peace and quiet in the world. You need to have basically no one needs to talk about any stock, and then it will go up.
Have we had any peace and quiet in the world?
No, it's literally like, as soon as Trump inauguration of the 20th of January. After that, well, if you're a trader and you're still a trader, congratulations. Don't give up, because if you survive this year, it probably will be fine. But I think the combination of just stocks being like we have seen it a couple months ago, where Tesla got front ran, like it's just they got the information, but this goes for basically all the bigger stocks. They need to rotate at some point. Another thing that pretty much worries me is that every calculation that I do towards the crypto market in relation to shares, for example, is that I'm sometimes missing just billions and billions and billions of dollars. And the only thing that I can hope for is that it is actually piled up in cash on the sidelines to actually get pushed back into the market. Because if you will not have that aspect, and your bonds will expire over the 30-year period, then you're talking about a global market crash. What will be absolutely fine for us, but
that's
not for the painter.
No, and that's I think one thing that's really interesting is, I think you're seeing, certainly on the institutional side, you're seeing that shift away from sort of the traditional bond investors, or as they call it, the bond police, the people who try and sort of keep those prices regulated. Because on the back of COVID, when we had that spike, something happened in that market that hadn't been seen before, and now that people know it's possible, it's factored in from a price. It's like if your house floods and you weren't in a flood area, your house is now always, and your insurance is always going to be more expensive because it has happened before. And I think certainly we're seeing that in the bond market, and that only adds stress to some of the premiums. And I don't think governments can function with these debt levels at 4 or 5%.
No.
And we're seeing a divergence. They're cutting rates in Europe, but gilt rates are still going up. And it'll be it's getting to a point where it's that tug of war, and which side of the rope will snap first.
I think we end up in the end with a PayPal chart.
Yes, I'll move our faces to. No, wrong one. Let me pull it up here. There we go.
I think in the end we end up with something like this. For the bigger companies like Apple, Meta, Microsoft, Nvidia, Tesla, maybe even the biggest bubble alive, that is MSTR. Like it. Also, if you look at PayPal, for example, that is a big company. That is a big one. And this is basically what I every time use as an example of, like, guys, we can take a look at Microsoft and go and say, like, oh, everything is great, but what goes up
must come down.
Also come down. If I look towards how this is growing, of course, like it's new for the time. Like the entire tech sector is relying on this. But still, where are the pullbacks? Where is the liquidity grab? When did the money actually get taken out? And this is, in my opinion, also something that a lot of people forget, is that you can buy a stock as retail. You can buy a stock. But if you are in any shape or form connected with this company and own a fuck ton of stock, that means you need to have that excuse to actually pull your money out. And this is where basically we now need to have like some sort of Alex Jones sound effect with a tinfoil head.
I love a bit of Alex Jones, me.
Because there needs to be an excuse to actually sell off your stocks. It's I think with the stock market you probably need something as war, but now we have a new war and no one really cares. Like, I'm used to Israel being just a shit show, that Iran is a shit show. Since I was a small kid, it was always fucked over there. So I'm not surprised. It doesn't have the shock factor anymore. Then recently you have like the pyramids are built by gay frogs or whatever it was. But that also doesn't shock people. So
don't drink tap water.
You need to find something that actually will shock the entire market to say like, this is the trigger. And it's funny because as soon as you start to understand that you need an excuse to move the market, then you also can think like, oh, Bitcoin pumped yesterday. Oh, what was yesterday? Oh, it was FOMC minutes. Do you think that the report of FOMC minutes had anything to do with the Bitcoin price? No, it was just a market maker going, oh, FOMC minutes.
Excuse, you're very right.
Let's liquidate both sides of the trade.
Yes, let's just get rid of everyone. So I personally always love the parts of when the aliens will land, when Fort Knox turns to be empty, that they actually have 2 bars of gold instead of whatever.
That one I believe. That one I believe.
I wouldn't be surprised. But I think that those kinds of aspects at the moment are actually quite important for the upcoming year. That at the moment it doesn't look sustainable whatsoever. And I also am a little bit afraid, because of the traditional markets not looking that sustainable, that your crypto market also will get a little bit of an harder time. Bit of tinfoil hats there.
No, we love it. We love the conspiracy too. We're all in crypto for some weird reason. But let's head over to BLOFIN to do our live trade. We've got James here is saying the 3-minute looks like a scalp on Bitcoin right now, 111 to 111.4. What are we thinking, lads? Are we going to go for a Solana trade, or should we stick to Bitcoin today?
Well, you're always Mr. Solana, right?
Exactly. Let's have a look at the chart here. This is on the 15-minute. Let me know in the chat whether we should go long or short, or perhaps we should go for the Bitcoin scalp there. Wiz, what's your take? Would you be trading Solana at these levels, or would you be more interested in the Bitcoin trade?
Let me just get the chart up because I'm looking at things. Are we looking at it from a 15-minute perspective?
Short scalp.
I think on a short scalp, we're in the middle of a range, so I'm gonna defer to Blockpro, but I think
Yeah.
I think probably if I was going to long it, I'd want to at least sort of come down to that 157.
At 155.
04.
Yeah, 156.
157.04 mark. Well, certainly on the 5 minute.
Shall
I
we
think
head
Bitcoin,
over to
potentially.
yeah? Let's lock it in. Let's go for the Bitcoin long. We'll follow James on this one. Go quarter of the account, market it. Buy long. Here we go, guys. Whack that in. Oh,
That fair value, that gap looks pretty scary.
Well,
yeah.
like the most positive outcome
Here
would
we
be
go.
just a bounce off the top of the fair value gap. It's just an order block in the end, so maybe it will just bounce up, and the spot now takes the trade that goes up to like 260k.
We'll look to put the take profit around 11.3, 11.4. But we'll check on that at the end of today's stream, guys. If you're wanting to trade on BLOFIN, no KYC, you can withdraw 25k a day. Don't give exchanges your info. You can find all the links in the description there, guys. But let's head back to, perhaps we can pull up a chart from you, Blockpro, and we can talk about some other altcoins that you've been having your eye on recently. So let me just remove my screen. We'll pull that up. One that I think has been interesting recently is Crow and Ton. Those are some of the charts that I've been watching. A lot of kind of fake news has been pushing that as well. But what have you been looking at, Blockpro?
Well, like I said, it's mainly my my Bitcoin, my Ethereum, of course. I think that well, Bitcoin, we've talked enough about that. I think that Ethereum is quite interesting at the moment. I also quickly need to take a little bit of profit here on my gold.
Nice.
Stop loss to break even. It's always the case with streams that you get wrecked if you don't pay attention.
Yeah.
Okay, so with Ethereum, what, or at least how this chart is built up, and yes, it might look for a lot of people like there are a lot of drawings on this chart and not a single trend line. Yes, because we do everything based on liquidity. Is we already said for weeks, I think maybe even months now, that we need to gain, and I also have a closure, preferably like daily to weekly closure above 2,750. Well, that exact number on my screen is 2,742.28, and everything after that basically looks golden to me. So from this perspective, you can actually see again how manipulated the entire market has been with creating certain ranges and trade in range for a longer period of time. So looking towards a form of market structure, that means that if we actually start gaining or consolidating and then start gaining, is from that point on, you will end up back in the range of 3,174 till 3,400-ish. It just needs to happen. Now, what I also remember from Ethereum, don't know if you guys were around back then, but last cycle, we also had a small pump of like, what was it, 70% in one day? And I actually wouldn't be surprised if we will get into a scenario where no one gets the option or the position to actually enter into a trade, because this thing will just explode at some point. So,
and what will lead those kinds of 70%, 50% gains in one day? What can we expect? What will be the catalyst there? Or is it just like you say, the institutions looking for an excuse and then they just pile in?
Yeah, I think it will be a case of no one is watching, so just send it. Like I said, we have seen it before, and of course, like last cycle was a little bit different. So with that case scenario, talking about this area right here, it's just quite a violent move for a simple structure. So from here, I would still say I'm quite bullish on Ethereum still. I don't see this as as bearish, how it is. The entire structure was quite bullish. The thing is, you need to break towards that 2,750, consolidate a little bit from there, collect a bit of liquidity, and then you're actually back towards the same pattern that we have seen before. So a complete gain. I'll move my screen a bit towards here, then it fits better on the, like so. That basically means that we want to play out a market structure where liquidity is built up over here. There was liquidity over here, that one has now partially been taken. So basically means that your next station is here on the top side. That is then where you want to play out. Now, then you end up with even more liquidity towards the highs, about that 4K zone. And from that point, I actually think it will just be like 5, 6K and back towards where this thing belongs. Because I also think we're running out of time with something like Ethereum, just because, well, call me Mr. Tinfoil Head, I think that it will be a very short bull run, but also a very violent bull run. Then, looking towards the 15 minutes, need to quickly check if we have... Yeah, so next level for the 4 hours, 2,959 and 34 cents. Looks quite simple. Let me quickly check if there's something in that range. Yeah, so you can expect a little bit of interruption here around the 2,850 area, and from there it's probably, come on, where is it? Oh. I think from there it's probably just open to run towards the top side, so I think it looks quite good.
But no $10,000 Ethereum.
No, the thing, like I want to say, like, yes, of course, like 10, 20K, but I just don't see it. I really don't. If I can get so where does it become a little bit ridiculous is basically, well, everything above 4K, you can be already quite happy with that. But also keep in mind that not every asset will make a new all-time high. So the fact that Ethereum already failed in its first run, what I thought was quite disappointing. It's like if I think here you're already talking about maxing out the asset itself. So you probably will end up somewhere between the all-time high and 6K. Not higher than that. I just don't see where they, how they could do that with a ticker like Ethereum, most centralized crypto asset ever. Then we have Solana. So I think Solana is actually a little bit more interesting at the moment. What I do think it's important to understand is set some orders. If you hold the fuck ton of Solana, no financial advice, of course, but set some sell orders. Just because it goes fast. You maybe have one day. It's not the case that the price bounces up and then just stays there for you to say, oh, let me check. What is my wallet doing? Oh, it's high. Just sell the sucker and just.
And guys, you don't even have to use centralized exchanges for these. You know, if you're holding Solana, you can use platforms like Jupiter and other decentralized exchanges as well. So like Blockpro says, set and Phantom, just set them and forget. What are some of the levels that you would be looking to kind of set these take profits at as such?
So for me, basically, I hold a little bit, not a lot. I'm looking to get rid at the 216 mark. Want to get a little bit off the table. Also, it's not on this chart because I'm not going to share that in full detail, of course. But I got a little bit of a liquidity zone at 246. After that, probably like 290, 350, and then 400, and then it's just over. Thing is, again, like with something like Solana, a lot of talks about like $1,000. I think that's too optimistic. Like I do understand why people say it, because it just gets more people on the Solana
It's like
train.
the 10k ETH, isn't it? You know, it's the similar.
But I personally think if it will go towards like that $450, $500 zone, be happy with it. You made enough. Be happy with it. Just take it and come back in the bear market. But this is something that I've seen in last months, is basically with almost everyone, is that so many people were just looking at it and went like, yeah, but it is now at 200. Next week it will be at 300 and at 400 and at 500 and 600, 700, and they never sell.
Not how markets work.
And that's also why I always think like it's always good to just take a portion of your portfolio and just set a target on the market to say, if it hits that, then I'm out.
Take it.
Take it.
Stables give you options. Stables give you options.
Yeah, I fully agree. But it is a difficult thing, of course, to say like, oh no, but like mainly with the newer people into the crypto industry that then always go like, yeah, but maybe you made your first 10k. Well, maybe next week it will be 50, but you never had that 10k in your pocket. So put that freaking 10k in your pocket before you go for the 15. You can go always again.
Numbers on a screen.
Just numbers on the screen that go up and down. So, but if I look towards more the local side of Solana, first obvious retest area, the level that we need to gain. One of the more important ranges is that $170. From there on, you actually finished quite a big part of the market structure. So
I'll correct you there, Blockpro. It's $169.
And 60.
Nah, you've got to look for the you got to have the funny numbers in there.
We need to be more Solana with it.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking like maybe I'm a little bit off. Now I want to perfect it that it actually fits there.
169,420.
Let me check where. Yeah, now we're going to mark that one out too. Wait, where is it? Maybe it is something. You never know with these Solana people; they're crazy as hell.
Then maybe we see a bear market. We see a bear market of Trump's favorite numbers of 44 and 46.
No. Guys, make sure to slap a like on today's video. We've got over 1,200 viewers that have come in and out during today's session over Twitter and YouTube. So make sure to slap a like. We will be doing more of these. And what have we got on the screen here?
Well, I now noted down the split zone. We got it here on the top, the Web3 split zone. We need to break that number to get into more bullish sentiment. Further, what I thought was actually quite impressive. Again, like we had some ETF bullshit coming out from about Solana. Didn't do shit, of course. Also be aware that as soon as something ETF crypto related comes in, it's already priced in. So or just ignore that part or go for maybe a little bit of a short, but it doesn't affect the market whatsoever. An ETF will take probably more than a year to actually start gaining some momentum, because once an ETF is announced, doesn't immediately mean that also everyone is trying to sell that ETF. There also will be a couple of parties that probably have like a 50% off deal with the broker. So keep that in mind. Not all. Do not get too excited too fast. So on some lower time frame stuff, well, there is room for a little bit of a pullback towards that 154 zone. What wouldn't be too difficult, I've marked out here backtest at 157.32. Probably will break down through that. Let me check on the 1 hour. Yeah, I think it does need to have a little bit of pullback. Nice double top here. So a little bit of pullback, preferably back towards that 155, 54 zone, and then start moving towards the upside again. So yeah. Maybe You, what was it? The Pump Fun token?
Yes, yeah. So Pump Fun announced their token. It's I believe the pre-sale starts on the Saturday, so 12th of July, and then we'll be going live on the 15th. To me, I think it's another extraction from Pump Fun, but I think the hype and the volatility will be there. So definitely want to keep an eye on, guys. Don't ape in straight away. Don't go in blind.
No.
Perhaps let it play out a little bit. And also be wary of fake links claiming airdrops and all of this kind of stuff, because there's going to be a lot of them, guys. So please be careful with your online safety when looking for airdrops. If it's too good to be true, it likely is. So yeah, just be wary. And if you're in the Discord, CSC Discord as well, you're always welcome to ask questions and help out there. And also, guys, if you want to join the Discord, we have an 80% discount code right now, where you can join myself, Wizard, and Blockpro, and even have one-to-one tuition with Blockpro for trading, and myself for Web3 career guidance and advice there.
I will say on the Pump Fun, it'll be on every major exchange, so don't get caught out trying to front run it on a chain. You'll probably buy a fake. It will.
There's going to be lots of fakes.
It will list immediately on an exchange. So if you want to buy it, if you're so inclined, buy it on there. Don't try and buy it on chain, because you'll buy a fake.
Yeah. And you can set up orders as well.
Do you guys think that will have like another liquidity sweeping impact on the rest of the market, or?
It's hard to tell. It's going to bring a lot of eyes.
2.0, basically.
Yeah.
What's your take, Wiz?
It'd be interesting. If I'm putting my tinfoil hat on, I can see certainly. It depends how they play it. If they use it as an extractive, I can see it being pretty horrible. But I can see them potentially thinking that everyone will go for the short, and they could just do something like distribute some of the money that they're sitting on below the top of it, take everyone out, and then short it themselves from 3 or 4 times where it went on entry. It's not something I think I'm going to trade, or if I am, I'm going to put in some massive stink short, low leverage, way above where it lists. But as I say, there's a million tickets to trade. Don't trade ones just because they're in the news. Just choose the ones that are in the charts, and don't try and trade news. I think is my big advice. Don't try and trade news, because in the financial world, companies pay tens of millions to get news before you, so they'll always be ahead of you in the news.
Wise words. And for me as well, the founders of Pump Fund, they've been known to kind of extract from the Solana ecosystem before. Their revenue, they're known for taking the profits from Solana, bridging it across to other chains as well. So it's what will they do with this profit? Let's wait and find out. But you are right, Blockpro could be a Trump 2.0. It could give some life back to the market. So definitely will be one to watch. So don't just sit on the sidelines, guys. Get about it. But also pick your trade. And probably go in with slightly less than you normally would, because it's going to be a volatile one.
Crazy. One bit of news actually is, have you seen the announcement from Phantom that came out, I believe, this week, of them launching their own perp decks?
Yes, I did see that.
Using the Hyperliquid API. I think that's a really interesting one, because I think that maybe, I quite like Hyperliquid. I've sort of been quite vocal on that, but I think that API exchange element is really interesting, because I can see that potentially creeping into some of the other crypto apps, and it'll be really interesting to see if that starts to bleed into some of the other apps that people use, whether that you end up having a MetaMask DEX that's powered by Hyperliquid, etc. I wouldn't be long in Hyperliquid here, though. I think on the high time frame, I think it's potentially looking to roll over, but that API question is a really interesting one, because it then takes away sort of my concerns were how many more new users can Hyperliquid get, but if they can make money by using their API for other DEXs and other consumer apps, they sort of let those apps do the legwork. Phantom has a big user base, and I think it's a really interesting move to tap into some crypto natives, but also I think some non-crypto natives, and I think that's probably a worry to watch out for. Is there'll be a lot of people on Phantom who now see that they can trade 40x leverage without having to leave Phantom, and I think that could be a recipe for disaster.
We call them fresh liquidity.
Yes.
But guys, we will wrap up here for today. We've gone over the hour. Big thanks to Blockpro and Wizard Vault. We could natter here for a few more hours, I'm sure. We were going to mention the special date in October that Blockpro had in mind. But guys, I'll leave that for the Discord. So if you want to join the Discord, all the links are down there. I will be having Wiz and Blockpro on more streams more regularly. So make sure to give this video a like and subscribe. Turn on the channel notifications as well so you don't miss. We're going live every day at 11, but tomorrow is a slightly later one. I believe it's 3 p.m. BST, and it will be with the Swissborg team talking about Nomu there as well. So make sure to tune in for that. And guys, please give a large clap to Wizard Vault and Blockpro in the comments. And I hope you had a good time, guys. Take care.
Thanks.
Woo.